I might have enjoyed it, I think, more than Frozen. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Frozen 2, the sequel to the hit Disney film Frozen. Yes. So I was really looking forward to Frozen 2 because I really enjoyed the first film. Even though I'm not a fan of sequels, I was willing to give this a chance. So, how does Frozen 2 stack up to Frozen? Let's get to the review. So Frozen 2 essentially takes place right after Frozen, and Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven, they're back, and they venture into this ancient forest in order to discover the origins of Elsa's powers, but also to save the kingdom of Arendelle. And right there, from that description, you can already tell that this movie is going to take you on this grand adventure, which it does. Which is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this film a lot. Which brings me to the story. As I mentioned before, Anna, Elsa, and the gang venture into this ancient forest to discover Elsa's powers, that's one of the subplots in this film. And what I really appreciate about the film is that it does seek to kind of expand the mythology of Frozen and the characters. So it builds a lot more into the world. You go outside of Arendelle, so you get to see more of the world that Frozen exists in, which I think is really good because then you get to go on this great adventure. One negative I will say about this is because it's trying to expand the mythology and because it's trying to delve deeper into, the origins of Elsa's powers and also in the past, sort of the backstory into Anna and Elsa's childhood, because we get flashbacks there. The film then answers questions that you may not have thought to ask in the first film. And when it does that, it creates some plot holes. For the kids who are watching this film, that won't really matter. But for the adults, it might be a little bit much to overlook. However, it wasn't enough to keep me from enjoying this film. So there's that. Let's talk about the characters, because as I mentioned before, Frozen 2 seeks to expand the mythology and the world in which Frozen exists. And that's very, very apparent and very, very true with Elsa. So if you're an Elsa fan, right? If you're more of an Elsa fan than you are an Anna fan, this movie, you'll probably really enjoy this movie because they do a lot more with Elsa in this film than they did in the first film. And they take her character to a whole nother level. She gets to use her powers a lot more. She gets to kind of show off a little bit. And she gets a stronger, I think, storyline in this film than she did in the other film. Another character that I really enjoyed in this film that I didn't enjoy as much in the first film was Olaf. I found Olaf to be pretty annoying in the first film. That was just me. Most people like Olaf. I did not. However, Olaf is really, really fun in Frozen 2. Olaf is basically there for comic relief, but in this film, the jokes work really, really well. Every joke that Olaf had in this film landed. It hit the mark. I was laughing, the audience in my screening was laughing. Just great job with Olaf. Great use of the character, great use of his interaction with other characters, and good use of humor throughout the film. And in fact, this film has a lot more humor than the first film, which I enjoyed. So, and it was a good balance, but Olaf provides a lot of that humor. So, good job for Olaf. So there are a couple of new characters in this film. Most of them are forgettable, but I will give a shout out to Sterling K. Brown's character, Lieutenant Matthias, who he did such a good job with this character. I mean, the character's not in the movie a whole lot, but when he is there, he does a really good job. And his character is part of this really, really funny moment involving Olaf that the way it was put together, the way it was edited, it was really, really funny. So I want to talk about music because music was a huge part of the first Frozen film, and it's definitely a big part of this second one. The first Frozen film, I feel like, had better music. Not to say I didn't enjoy the music here in this film, in Frozen 2, but I think the music in Frozen was stronger. And although Frozen 2 tries to have its Let It Go song in Into the Unknown, it doesn't quite land that punch that Let It Go does. I mean, Let It Go was a phenomenon, so it's hard to recapture something like that. Into the Unknown comes close, but it doesn't quite get there. And overall, most of the songs in Frozen 2 aren't that great. The other exception would be Kristoff's song, Lost in the Woods. I think that's the name of it. That one was really good. And I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I probably should have, just because of how it was used in the film. I would say that song and Into the Unknown were the two standouts. Anna has a pretty cool song towards the end, but it doesn't quite work, at least for me. But yeah, I think overall Frozen had better music. Frozen 2's fine, but just a couple of songs are really good. The rest are kind of meh. So I do want to talk about the animation, because the animation is a huge part of why I enjoyed Frozen 2 as much as I did. It's really, really well done. And especially because I went back and watched the first Frozen film a few days before seeing the second one, and the animation has greatly improved from the first film. The animation here in Frozen 2 is a lot more fluid. The colors pop a lot more. The contours and everything else with the characters are more defined. And especially in sequences involving Elsa and her powers, really, really stand out and are really, really great with this animation. Overall, I liked Frozen 2 a lot. In fact, I think I enjoyed it more than Frozen, the first film. I do think Frozen has a more tightly constructed story than Frozen 2, but I think that's just because Frozen 2 is a lot more ambitious. It tries to do a lot more with the characters. It tries to do a lot more with the story. It tries to, expand the mythology, as I mentioned before. And some of it works. Not all of it, but some of it. And the humor is there. The animation is great. I really loved what they did with Elsa and expanding her character. The music is not as great in Frozen 2 as it is in the first film, but there are a few songs that do really pop, and I think people will be singing once they leave the theater. I'm one of those people, I don't really think sequels are necessary. I don't think Frozen 2 is a necessary sequel at all. I mean, it's very apparent that Disney saw the success of the first film and said, okay, we got to get another film out, and that's fine. But with that being said, I do think Frozen 2 does a good job for what it's worth. Again, it's not a necessary film, but if you're gonna do a sequel, this is the way to do it. Make it fun. Be ambitious with it. Try new things. Try other things. Expand the story. Expand the characters. So yeah, I enjoyed Frozen 2. I think most people will enjoy it. It's a fun film. So hit the comment section below. Let me know what you think of Frozen 2. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like it more than the first film? So share your thoughts below. Please like and share this review, and don't forget to subscribe.